Welcome to the Big Fat Gay Podcast, where we talk about the things that are weighing on our minds. I'm Trevor Keyson. I'm a super chub. I'm a sometimes writer, and I'm here in West Hollywood. And it's me today. I'm here. I'm ready. I'm awake. I'm the most awake, I think.
He is so here.
And yeah, I'm just I'm chugging along through this weird time where the Earth is spinning on fire, and people are just refusing to do things that are good for them.
Why? My name is Michael. I am a chaser still.
It persists.
It's happened once again. And I'm a survivor. Yesterday was Friday the 13th.
Was it really?
And it was horrible. And I'm not the guy who's like superstitious about it, but yesterday was a horrible day and many things went wrong. So fuck that day. Today I am taking it easy.
Huh.
Mm-hmm.
My name is Donald Marshall. I'm a big chubby guy living in sunny Hollywood, and today I think I'm here. Yes,
you are
I'm
so sleepy.
fairly certain I'm here.
I'm dubious.
That's fair.
Don is swaddled in a very cozy blanket.
I have
right
a
now.
lovely blanket on, and I'm awake. I'm ready.
Hear this?
Yes.
Hear this? This is the dregs of my coffee. That's the kind of day it is.
Don's in a blanket, and I'm sitting next to him in a tank top, sweating.
I'm comfy.
I am usually too warm. Anyway,
Dan's going through the change.
it's in the sofa. I'm Dan Oliverio. I'm a chubby chaser, public speaker, and author. And I'm just, it's Saturday. And, yesterday I was having a terrible day, but it wasn't that terrible. You know why? Because I didn't know the date.
See, if you had known,
So
it would have been much worse for
day.
you. Yeah.
I slept through Friday the 13th, really.
I wish I had done that. I probably should have done that because I think lack of sleep is my biggest problem right now.
Well, if I'd been awake, I would have told you.
Yeah. Well, if I'd been awake. See, I wasn't really awake. That's the problem. I was just not asleep.
Okay.
Okay, well, that's one way to start the show. Welcome, everybody. We're back once again on our mostly weekly basis to wish you the best and to bring you good news this week. We have uplifting things to talk about. Trevor's put a lot of work into having, most of the episode.
Yeah. That main subject's heavy. That means we get you really amped up before and then we kick out the chair from under you.
Yeah. We cut the brake lines on your car.
No, we're starting out pop culture with Lizzo.
Yay!
Not only
Lizzo. No, but still, just in honor of.
Yes. So not only does Lizzo have a new song out, Rumors, which I guess hit the iTunes top 10 within hours of releasing. I'm assuming it's probably climbed up even higher.
Is that what they're saying about Rumors?
Yes.
That's not what I've heard.
If you haven't listened to Rumors yet, pause the podcast, go listen to it, and then come back. I mean, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. That was the pause where they were.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it. Okay.
Oh,
it's one of those things.
Who turned the on switch to on? Wow.
Trevor is he's on
fire.
A roll. He's not just on a roll. He's on a muffin.
yes, I'm a muffin.
Yeah. But anyway.
No, so Lizzo is kind of where we all are right now. And posted on Instagram and TikTok and stuff, basically asking for 6 feet of space, which we'll drop in
the
the
sassiest
audio.
way possible too.
With Lysol in hand.
Lysol, that's right. If you get hit by my Lysol, it must be that you're within 6 feet of me.
I love so she's obviously she has her message. My favorite part though was, it's not you, it's me. I'm not trying to catch nothing. I don't even want to catch feelings, bitch. But it's so
I used to teach ESL a long time ago, and you'd have different people from different cultures, and different cultures had different personal spaces. And it was always so amusing to see a conversation, for example, between a Saudi and a Japanese.
Oh,
because they have very different ideas of what personal space is. And inevitably, you'd have the Saudi chasing the Japanese around the room as one moves in to close the personal space and the other backs off. And you'd look up and how did they just move 10 feet? Well, because they've been having a conversation for 5 minutes.
I have been that person.
Wait, which person though?
I have been, I'm I'm not guarded, but like if someone's nose is very close to mine, I'm going to lean back and move back.
Yeah.
So I have been the one chased around the room by various other people.
Yeah.
Well, and you know me, I'm pretty direct. So I've actually been the one to say, excuse me, I have a little bit more personal space than you do. So could we just back off
Can
a
we
little
just
bit?
not? Yeah.
Could we just not get that freaking close?
I mean, I'm just going to save this video to my phone and then play it for people. I mean, she says it so well. But like, seriously though, like people, yes, we all want to believe. We all want to believe. X-Files theme goes here that COVID was on its way out. But this is what's been happening from the very beginning. We all think it's one thing. We all think it's only going to be 2 weeks. Oh, then it's only going to be 2 months. Oh, then it's only going to be 6 months. And oh, well, it's on the downfall now. No, it's going to come back, and we have to adjust in the moment every time. And here we are now. And Lizzo's saying, "Hey, give me my space. I still need that 6 feet. It's still important."
Everything we're going through right now was predicted,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? Like we knew it was coming.
We shouldn't be
Nostradamus.
surprised. We shouldn't.
There was another episode where we kind of talking about the horror metaphor. I can't remember when it was, but it was like,
Oh yeah.
COVID's done and then it sits up.
Oh, it's like that the what is it? The Act 4 fake death.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's always a horror death fake out.
See, now I'm picturing Fauci as the last girl. Like,
No, it definitely should be Lizzo though. Like Fauci is the one in the beginning where he's trying to give her the message, the warning, and then he dies right before he can get it out.
Oh, he's the gatekeeper. He's
Yes.
the crazy old man out in
He's
the
the
woods warning you
gatekeeper.
before you make it to the summer camp.
And then everyone ignores him. And then in defiance of all horror movie tropes, Lizzo is the one who actually makes it to the end. But I think she
Didn't
does
we,
have to kill COVID.
in our Halloween episode, cast Lizzo in a horror movie.
Probably. Look, time is a fat circle. We've established this. We're just going to keep looping around on. Are we in purgatory? Is that what this podcast is? I mean, it could be
Listeners,
worse.
you can tell us.
I mean, I feel
Where
like
can they tell us, Trevor?
That's it. So many sounds.
I feel like we just did this.
No, I think we're just establishing
Some wild
canon.
energy this morning.
We have canon and lore to the podcast at this
Yes,
point.
we have a rich backstory.
Yes.
Have we ever done an episode on fat people in horror movies? I don't remember.
Yes, several times.
Wow, are you sure?
Yes, I'm fairly confident
Do
that
that
has
again.
been covered by at least one of us.
Yes.
So, give Lizzo her space.
Yes.
If you see her.
She actually was I was saying this earlier at Plummer Park, which is in West Hollywood, very near us.
Yeah, it's like 2 miles from here.
Twerking to promote Rumors with some local musicians. And Party was like, I have to go. It's happening.
This is it.
I have to go see her. But then I
can ask her
remembered her
about the show.
TikTok. And I was like, oh, but I have to give her space. And I don't want to. There's something very ungratifying. I mean, I don't think I would like run up and hug her, but there's something ungratifying about like, okay, like it should be 6 feet, but I'll probably do like 12 feet. And I'm shouting at her through a mask.
Yeah.
And it's that awkward interaction. It's like, what? And it's like, I love you. What? You're
I feel like
amazing.
if the four of us had gone, I think we could have made that work.
Yeah.
Like as a group where we could all sort of attracted her attention to all of us.
Oh, just a spearhead formation. We could push our way through any crowd.
Yeah. We could get those like tall, what are those shields called that the Romans used? The
Are we
Tower
attacking
shields.
Lizzo now? What's
No, we're getting
happening?
through the crowd to Lizzo. And we're not attacking her. We're just like
I don't
pushing
need a
everyone
shield.
else.
I can just.
Just-
This is me just shimming my way through the crowd. It's
True. I mean, Trevor can push his way through a crowd if he just falls forward.
That's the wiggle bottle approach.
Yes.
Anyway,
It's a weird one, folks.
it's buckle up, everybody.
yeah.
I've said it before, but I really, really mean it now.
But we have more celebrities giving us hope
Yeah.
in the darkness, in the now times.
Yes, it's not the dark times. It's just the world.
Yes.
Jonah Hill has
yeah.
gotten a new tattoo. I guess, is body positivity the thing that we're doing? Is that the word? Is that the phrase that we're just going
There's
with?
a bunch of phrases.
We're going to talk about that too.
Okay. Well, anyway,
It's CNN, so I think that's what the phrase they're going to use because it's the
right.
It's the most
accessible.
recognized.
Yeah.
But he got a tattoo that says "Body Love." It has a logo around it.
Yeah, it's a play on Body Glove, which is a sports brand.
Okay, got it. So yeah, it's a
I
pun.
did not get that reference.
Yeah, it's I think it's swimwear.
I couldn't tell you, but it's all because, as he says and has said before, he got famous as a sort of older teenager when he was fat. I mean, he isn't really fat now, but he's obviously had a lot of swings in his career, and he's taken a lot of flack for his size and his shape. And that has just been a pervasive thing that he, as he says, hasn't really been able to reconcile with until the last few years. Specifically working on a movie that he's been directing. Maybe he wrote and directed. And this is a way for him to express self-love and care for himself, and also to create that message for people who might need to hear it.
And I just have so much respect for him. Being a fat kid is pretty hellish to begin with. Being a fat kid in a global media environment, Jesus,
Yeah.
the beatdown is insane.
Yeah, and people get the right to tell you what they think about you.
Oh yeah, I know you. Therefore, I mean, people feel they have the right to comment on strangers' bodies. Can you imagine how the self-righteousness they feel commenting on celebrity bodies?
Well,
and the fact that he's 14, they don't care about that. Doesn't matter to them.
The celebrity doesn't actually exist. They're not really a real person.
We own them because
we
we
own
pay.
them. Yeah, we own them. Yeah.
But it's interesting, like, because like the email, the what is the hate mail phenomena, right? Like people feel very at ease sending atrocious content in emails, condemning people, and then when they get confronted by the celebrity, right? When the celebrity shows up on their front doorstep and says, "Let's talk about this," the conversation is always like, "Well, I never thought like you would read it. I never thought you would hear my message.
Yeah, who did you imagine?
Don't exist,
Jesus.
You know."
That's
And
why
when you-
Shrill was so good, because a lot of the first season of Shrill builds around that arc of her finally confronting her troll, her internet troll.
Yeah.
And at season 2 also, I haven't seen season 3 yet.
I haven't seen
I'm
season
going
3
to.
yet either.
It's good. It's a letdown because it's like
I mean,
they were setting up so
iconic.
much for season 4,
Yeah.
and they didn't get it, and they work around it. But
Anyway, thank you, Jonah Hill. We respect and admire you.
yes,
All right. Is that it? Is that it?
it's
Is it
we're-
happening?
It's time.
Okay.
Kick that can down the road.
It's Fat Watch
Yay!
2021.
Yay.
We're here again.
Once more onto the
yes.
breach.
And this week, so I've kind of been following the formation of this call to action / boycott by Sauce West. And she has started this movement. It's hashtag fight for inclusivity. And it is boycotting plus size brands that stop at 3 and 4X. And part of this is because all these brands are like, we make stuff for everybody. And
Yeah,
like,
they
blah, blah, blah.
use it. They,
Yes.
they sort of go on this platform of inclusivity and body positivity.
And I would say it's a couple of brands that we have talked about on the podcast.
Yeah, and I think I even mentioned there's one brand in particular that comes to mind, which is the I forget what they're called, but they make the underwear that has like the sort of patches in between the thighs to sort of keep the friction down and reduce chub rub. They also only go up, I think maybe even to just 3X, and so I'm gonna go comment on their ads now because I get them all the time.
But so there's a whole kind of list of I don't really know how to phrase it.
Guidelines or
Guidelines and goals.
like a checklist.
Yes. So not only going after brands that stop at 4X but claim to be size inclusive, but also getting brands to work towards consistent sizing, because especially the plus brands, the sizing is not consistent.
Yeah.
And it makes it difficult for shoppers.
So like they have a 5X, but it's really just a 36-inch waist.
Right. Yeah. It's like who in what world does this qualify as a 5? Yeah.
So they're kind of gathering lists of brands to boycott, but then also brands to support, which I think is
that's good.
Yeah,
That's
really
very
necessary because it can very quickly turn into, okay, so I can't buy from anybody.
yeah.
Right. And there are people like, for instance, the guy who made all of our swimsuits, Patrick Allen Wood, granted, not so much a brand as a guy who has his own business, but like worth supporting. And like, if we support him enough, maybe he does build an entire business and brand around that and can continue.
And his business is small enough where like, if you need 10X, ask him for a 10X. He'll make it. He doesn't care.
Yeah. But people like that. And also part of this, which this is the one that I particularly like, this piece of advice, which is to hold influencers in giant, massive air quotes and content creators who get what's the word, sponsorship through different brands, and they sort of say, hey, like if they're a quote unquote body positive influencer and they're saying, hey, this brand is a brand that I support because they pay me money and I like when they do that, you hold them accountable for whatever brand that happens to be. And if that brand isn't, size inclusive, or they only go up to 3X or 2X or whatever, you can call them out on it and say, hey, and there's a hashtag you're supposed to use, fight for inclusivity, just to kind of keep the bigness of the conversation relevant, which I think is nice. I shared this on Twitter also.
Yes, it's awesome.
It's very good. And I think we should all call out the idea that, like Dan was saying, like how many times, I can't remember, there was this one brand, I think it was actually the shorts one that I just mentioned, like their idea of whatever it was, a 3X was like actually what I would call a large. It was like a 34-inch waist.
Well, and there's no hard rules about it. And then a lot of people are intimidated by the actual number. Like you could solve the problem by just saying that we're going to use an actual standardized measurement. We're going to call it inches. We're going to call it, but nobody wants to, very, very few men actually have a 32-inch waist. They just wear a medium.
Right. Right. And like how, like not everybody has a flexible, what are they called? Not flexible. A tape measure, like a flexible tape measure. And if you do, like, does it go around far enough?
And is that going to be traumatizing?
Well, and are you holding it at the right place? Like, especially
where is it being measured from?
Yep.
Which is, all of these problems are not exactly problems that is up to the company to solve, but definitely like just having larger sizes, like expand your sizing. And
it's always been a point of frustration for me that like, like every major brand store that claims to have large sizes, like the Gap, they claim that they have a large size. The large size always stops at 2X.
Well, and it's not
maybe 3X if you're lucky.
What kills me is even if they had like, I don't know, 8X, it's not cut for anyone in existence. They've just taken a pair of pants, a 32, and they've blown it up 10 times, and that fits no one.
Why do you guys think they call it the Gap? That's because there are giant gaps between.
The bane of my existence, though, is the Asian-sized stuff that sneaks onto racks. I'm like, wait, like I'm trying on an 8X right now, and apparently it's the same size as an American medium. Like this makes no sense.
I can't remember what company it was, but once they got beyond 2X, every successive X was one more inch.
Oh my God.
So an X equaled an inch.
And this is exactly what this post is talking about, where like that's clearly not inclusive. So check it out. We'll have a link, but also you can. They do also have a list of companies worth supporting there too, so you can use that as a resource. Is it time?
It's time.
Okay,
it's time.
It's it.
Are you feeling good? Are you feeling hopeful?
Well, stop it.
Can't have that.
So.
Oh, let me.
Who won? Okay, Dan, you do this.
Dan's been amped up to.
I have so much to say about this, and it's kind of it masquerades as a complicated issue, so that falls to me. So once upon a time, there was a plus size female influencer and model, and she is gorgeous and she is fat, and she and her friends decided they were going to go to a day club, like a Miami Beach club, but it exists during the day. It's not a nightclub, it's a day club. And they were going to make it even more fun by renting a party bus to go down there. And they discovered that the party bus on their website, they have a policy, basically no fat chicks. And it goes on to explain, like, don't even bother. Like, don't even bother if you're a fat chick. You're not going to get in. The doorman, which presumably means that the club has a very strict policy. Don't even try. Don't waste your time. Don't waste our time. No fat chicks.
Yeah.
So she calls the club and she says, is this true that you have a strict no fat chicks policy? And they say, well, of course not. And so they go, okay, well, maybe it'll be fine. So they go to the party bus, and of course they are summarily rejected. And she posts about this on Instagram and TikTok and a bunch of places. And I have a couple of things to say about this. Yes, it is.
I have an opinion.
Well, but here's my opinion. I mean, of course it's terrible, and of course it's discriminatory, but she goes a long way to let the club off the hook, and to let the home of the club, the Hard Rock Hotel, off the hook. And I am not buying it, maybe the hotel, the club is absolutely responsible. Because let's think about this. The party bus company gets no benefit from excluding writers.
Right.
That is not in their economic interest.
Right.
It is in their economic interest, however, to curry favor with the club who only wants quote unquote hot people
Right.
to show up
Yes.
at the special entrance.
Yeah.
So this had to have been communicated by the club. This did not start with the party bus. The club, however, takes no responsibility and is playing the innocent card.
Well,
and
and this
I am
is-
not buying
This is how the language reads on the bus's Eventbrite page, which I mean, the bus is taking people to the event, right? So on their page, it says, quote, "Sorry, no big girls for this party. The doorman is very strict on appearance. If you have had problems getting into exclusive clubs before, then this is not for you. Please don't waste your time nor ours thinking that we can get you inside if you do not meet the qualifications."
And what kills me about this, they're not talking about the doorman to the bus.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
You know, whose doorman is that? That's the club.
Yes.
So letting the club off the hook is to me completely insufficient and wrong. It is absolutely the club that is driving the conversation.
I love the phrasing, if you don't meet the qualifications.
Well, it's Miami. There are qualifications. There are hotness qualifications. Yeah.
Hotness is something that you have to work for, Don. And if you're too lazy to work for it, then you don't deserve the benefits.
How dare you say that to a man wrapped in an Afghan?
So something I think is interesting about this. So obviously this story has gone viral. I mean, it's being covered everywhere now. And they have updated the event page.
Yes, because they decided, well, maybe we're getting a lot of flack from saying, you know, basically no fat chicks.
Yeah. So
And by the way, you can be as fat as you want if you're a man. There's nothing about it if you're a man.
It does seem, targeted to women.
The title is now Open Bar Party plus DAER Pool Party.
That's the club.
EDM, electronic music. A model look is encouraged.
A model look
And this is the
encouraged.
title of the event. And then it goes on to say,
People. She was literally a model.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
She is a
She
model.
was literally a model.
And if you look at her, it's ridiculous to think that she would be turned away because of how she looks. She is gorgeous. Not that you should ever turn away somebody for how they look, but
Yeah.
really, come on, she is gorgeous.
But yes,
Dan.
we'll get to...
but Dan, important note, please read. As much as we would like to welcome everyone, admission to this exclusive event is very selective, and we reserve the right to deny service.
Yeah.
Fuck right off.
Yeah, it's made possible by the fact that being fat is not a protected class. Because if this language, imagine the original ad had said, like, if you've been turned away for being black from a club before, you're probably going to get turned away now.
Right.
That would never fly. And if you change the language to say, like, well, you know, we only want a certain standard of beauty in the club, and so lighter skinned people are encouraged to apply, like, they would never fly.
Yeah.
But, you know, there's this idea that, you know, there are some standards that we're okay to enforce here.
Yeah. Like, well, and this is okay. So the thing that, I mean, obviously there's quite a number of things wrong with this. The thing that kills me about this way of thinking, which is so universal and has always, I think has always bugged me. I think for as long as I can remember, before I could have even articulated why, is the idea of objective beauty. Like, this person is a beautiful person. We just know that. And this person over here is not beautiful, but they have other qualities. And that's just an objective truth that the people of the world can observe about other people. And that somehow we all just inherently know, like, we all know that this one person is just ugly. But that's okay.
Well, and not only that, but the objective beauty is obviously given by God.
Right.
And if you run
Or
into
earned.
well, yes, but the standard is a priori.
Yeah.
And if you run into a culture that has a different standard, they're wrong. And if you run into a period of time where it's different, well, that was just antiquated.
Yeah.
Or we didn't know the truth. Like, obviously, in the days of appreciating Rubenesque beauty, they didn't know of the dangers of obesity.
What frustrates me about this, I feel like it's not even about objective beauty. It is, you are so repulsive to us. We don't want your money, which is what, as a fat person, I feel like I run into with everything. Like, I cannot give you any money. Like, I will pay you any amount of money for clothing and I cannot get it. I will pay you for, you know, a plane seat that will fit me.
But you won't. But you won't sell it to me.
Even because I'm doing a project for NEF right now, and it's like, even when fat people die, we cannot pay you money to handle our dead body. But just because there's all these different regulations and stuff, which I've been researching, and it's just like, society thinks fat people are so wrong that we cannot get, like, in a capitalist world, they don't want our money.
Yeah, I mean, we are the living proof that this whole invisible hand of the market is utter bullshit.
Yeah, there isn't an invisible hand of the market, but it's not driven by market forces. It's driven by a whole lot of bigotry and prejudice.
We warned you, listener. You have no one to blame but yourself if you've gotten to this point.
If there's any, I don't know, capitalist listening, start rubbing your hands because I am giving you profit.
Well, we just talked about Rihanna, who
Yes.
has been including an actual like range of sizes in her clothing lines, and just hit Rihanna, a pop singer, is a billionaire. Can we just take a moment to appreciate that?
Yeah.
Like, holy fuck. Like, in his entire career as an NBA player, Shaquille O'Neal only made $300 million and has since become very successful as an investor. But like, if you take that, Shaquille O'Neal, and then now, oh no, Rihanna's a billionaire.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Most of the people on Shark Tank aren't billionaires.
It's the scale of the market.
Yeah. Nuts.
So the event that happened at this club, I mean, it's the fact that it's down in writing and the woman had a chance to prepare for it is the only thing that's new about it, right? Like, clubs have always had sort of this reputation of turning people away at the door. And,
And turning people away for all sorts of reasons, for color, for size, for, I mean,
Well, that's what they hide
ethnicity.
behind. They say, well, if you've been turned away, then you should know.
That's
You
such
should know
sort of
better.
a part of that culture that, like, I always thought going to clubs looked like fun. I didn't really go that much ever when I was, in that target age demographic, because it was just my expectation I was going to be treated badly.
Well,
You know?
I don't know about you, Michael, but like, I was never part of the club scene for a whole bunch of reasons, but one of which is like, I wasn't going to see a lot of 400-pound guys at the club that I wanted to pick up.
This is the feeling of my life, which is to have almost nothing with which I can identify from the mainstream culture.
Yeah.
Like, almost nothing. Like, I might be the right age demographic. I might look like I would fit in there, but there's nothing that I could possibly relate to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I was doing a bunch of interviews for my book, and one of the things I came across was this man. He's a straight white man who happens to like extremely fat women. And he talks about how he feels alienated as a straight white man from other straight white men because because of the taboo of that this makes such a difference in how he relates to other men.
Right.
And I think it just reminded me of what you were saying. Like, and then if you add gay or you add, add being a person of color or anything like that, it moves you farther and farther away. I mean, I've said that the closest I get to normal is just being gay.
Right. Yeah.
I wonder if there's a comparison here to the way mainstream society reacted to interracial dating, in that, like, the mainstream person in an interracial partnership lost a certain amount of privilege in that group. They started being seen as partially other.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I experienced that as a chubby chaser.
But this woman that we're talking about here, who went to the club, I think is a great example of showing how specific this prejudice against specifically fat is, in that she is the only adjective that you could use to describe her that would put her apart from any gorgeous model from any mainstream outlet is the word fat. Every other aspect of her is conventionally attractive.
I mean, she's got huge pretty privilege. She's got, I mean, she is absolutely drop dead gorgeous and she's fat. But, whoops, that's a disqualification apparently.
Yeah. So sorry that you bring everything to the table, but you've disqualified yourself as a human being because of one adjective.
Yeah.
It's just so like stupid and frustrating. And just like, she is so mind-blowingly gorgeous. It's like, sorry, ma'am. We need some like, we need space for all the girls with really flat asses to come in and get too drunk and then like throw up in the pool.
Yeah.
And it's going to be all that. We have to shut down the pool for an hour after that. and then one of them's crying. It's the whole thing. And
well, and if you're a guy, you can be fat as you want. That is not important to them. It is so misogynist.
Especially if you walk in with a model.
Oh my God, yeah.
Like if
you were Harvey Weinstein with a hot white girl on your arm, you'd be let in.
He's not getting turned away. Yeah.
I just have to say, I don't mean to disparage flat asses. I'm just saying, when I think of like Miami Beach pool party, she is what I think of, like neon swimsuit, just like thick with C's. I'm saying this is with C's.
Thick.
I know, thick. Maybe like 3 C's. It's just like, I don't understand. I mean, I understand completely, but I don't understand.
Well, and my thing is here, do not let the club off the hook. It is not the party bus.
Yeah.
The party bus is just facilitating what the club wants.
Right.
And if you have a fat friend, right?
Oh, good point.
Do you want to go to a club that is going to be prejudiced against your friend?
Not only that, if you are the thin privileged friend, it is, I would argue, your obligation to fight here, because your fat friend's going to have zero traction here.
Yeah.
Right.
Zero.
Right.
Because they've already taken that person as a loss. They don't care about that person.
Right. And you could argue that, okay, so this party of hot women, one of whom happens to be fat, like if six women don't go into that club, the club is not going to die. Right. There's not a lot of economic impact there, but you start spreading that word, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, exactly. That's the only way to get things done around here. Apparently, is just make a big deal about it on social media, because there's no other way to get a company to listen.
Well, it's funny because if you, again, back to my ESL days, when Americans go to a restaurant, it is perfectly acceptable to say, I don't like this. I'd like to order something else and not be charged for it. Even if there's nothing wrong with it, you just don't like it. In a halfway decent restaurant, they will accommodate you. Mm-hmm. That never happens in Europe. And even if the food in a particular restaurant in Europe is terrible, you do not send it back. The worst, if you really want to offend them, you don't eat it and glare at your plate. And I would ask my European students, well, then why would they accommodate you? You're not saying anything, and you're not giving them any stick. You're not punishing them in any way. Why would they care? And the European students would say, oh, well, because you won't go back. And I'm like, okay. And you'll tell your friends, and maybe they won't. And for an American, that sounds like very low stakes. Like, you won't go back. Haha.
Yeah.
But it is what you were talking about, that social pressure. Mm-hmm. And I think what we've done here is because of Facebook, we've monetized it and amplified it so that it can have a huge impact to the point where it's actually a little terrifying how much impact it can have.
Yes,
which I think is one of the reasons why you're seeing so much pushback. Like, there's a political movement in the United States that screams constantly about cancel culture. How dare you protest these companies just because they do this thing? Well, I mean, we vote for everything with our money in any sort of capitalistic society, right? Why shouldn't we do that?
Well,
every time any sort of group or organization fights against who we are as a person.
Well, what I love is, you know who invented cancel culture? The conservatives. When they had million moms boycotting Disney. When they had all
7 of the million moms.
Don't you remember all the conservative boycotts of every time Disney did something halfway decent, like give domestic partner benefits? A million moms was out there saying boycott Disney. That, it wasn't called cancel culture, but today that's what it would be called, except, apparently cancel culture only applies to
once it
liberal
starts getting used against them, all of a sudden.
They were
what do you mean I don't get to oppress you?
Exactly.
Screw you.
Yeah. Not letting me in because of I don't wear a mask is cancel culture now.
I am foaming with rage. I'm completely useless verbally.
I think we're all kind of foaming right now. This is a very foamy episode.
This was not a great topic because I'm just like, roar, 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 roar.
I say we launch this party bus into the sun.
Yeah.
And that way it can be the first party bus on the sun.
Well, I don't know if you'd get into the sun, Trevor.
It's one of my favorite jokes. I think it's from the very first episode of Futurama, which I told you I was going to reference at some point. It's like, like they're trying to force him to do his pre-assigned job in the future. And he's like, well, what if I refuse? And she's like, then you'll be fired. And he's like, fine. And then she says, out of a cannon into the sun.
And again, not the party bus. That is low hanging fruit. That is not the problem.
Yeah. The club, and when we say the club, so the club rented the space from the Hard Rock Cafe.
Yeah.
And so there's some debate about whether Hard Rock Cafe is related to all of this, blah, blah, blah. Really, the club, DARE, whatever the fuck they're called,
DAER, I believe.
Yeah. Durr.
Club Durr.
Yeah. But it's Miami. And the only, as a party promoter, one of the only ways you have distinction in a market like Miami where like, okay, maybe you got your DJ, but really, it's who shows up to your club.
Yeah, that's it.
And so if you want to make a name for yourself,
or who owns it.
If you want to make a name for yourself as having the most discriminatory, the most predatory, the most offensive, I think they win.
So really the only way to sum up, how do we fight this, right? And what we've come up with is like, this is one that fat people can't fight ourselves. We can't.
Yeah.
Because they've already decided they don't want our money. And
we open our own club with the thickest, juiciest butts in Miami.
You'd
get some, you'd get some options.
For this, what we do is we reach out to our allies, right?
It's true, yeah.
Our allies, our friends, our chasers, our family members, right? Make it clear to them if they support these venues, then they are actively voting with their money against us being able to participate in the public space.
Yeah.
And beyond that, if these clubs value these VIP people so much, target those VIP people. Is there a celebrity going to one of these clubs that excludes fat people? Call them out on social media. Point out what they're doing to them. Point out what they're doing to their fans.
They may not be aware, but it's even if it's something much more low key, like, I don't know, let's say somebody shows up, Matt Damon, because,
Matt Damon.
Because Matt Damon.
He's such a club guy.
Yeah. But, Matt Damon shows up to this club. Rather than like blasting him, because he may be completely unaware, just say like, form it as a question like, Mr. Damon, are you aware that this club has this discriminatory policy? And let them respond to it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're just blasting them, they don't know any more than the guy next to them.
Probably.
And they have a bigger megaphone than you do. So if you can bring them over to the side of light, the side of angels.
Well, and it gives them an opportunity to say, no, I didn't know, but now that makes a difference to me.
Yes.
And they can actually then, you can enroll them in this struggle rather than just, like, I saw you, therefore you're guilty.
Mr. Damon, are you aware that Club Thick only allows the fattest, juiciest asses in Miami into their establishment?
Why no, I had no idea.
But I'm sure I'll find out tonight.
It's just a big butt. You go into the butt. You kind of got to squeeze through.
This is the Lizzo's giant inflatable butts career after like being used on stage. I'm
just imagining Matt Damon's like kind of going sideways through the big butt.
I hope this is real. I don't know where it happened, but I remember hearing a story about a group of Jewish people in a wealthy neighborhood who wanted to join the local country club and were not allowed to because country club.
Oh, that's called the history of Los Angeles.
Right. But apparently they went out and they were like, fine. They went out and they founded their own country club and they made it all admissive, right? Everyone could come. And apparently that country club just completely eclipsed the original one, eventually put them out of business.
Well, do you know, I don't know if I was serious when I said the history of Los Angeles. That's exactly how Beverly Hills started.
Oh, I did not know that.
Because Jews were not allowed into the Wilshire Country Club. And so they said, you know what, we're going to make our own little country club and we're going to make our own neighborhood. You know what, we're going to make our own school district. And you know what else? We're going to make
Beverly Hills.
And that's how West Hollywood started.
Beverly Hills.
As an enclave for the gays.
Well, I believe that. So Club Thiccc will take over.
When you said it made me think that it was Friday the 13th and the
I actually watched the second and fourth Friday the 13th movies last night. For the first time. I've never seen a Friday the 13th.
I can't do the math on that.
You've never seen any of the Friday the 13th movies?
I'm not a slasher fan, so I never went out of my way to watch.
I would have thought purely as education you would have seen them.
Yeah, I figured I'd see it eventually.
Okay.
You got to see
The first
Jason
one's
X.
very different. Oh God, I think we did watch
Jason
that.
X.
That's in outer space.
Yes.
That one
Yes,
I have.
we have
It
seen
is-
it.
yeah.
It is
Wonderful.
bonkers.
It is hilarious. I mean, I think it's really brilliantly funny.
Poor Dan.
I think my favorite is
Is there a Muppet in this somewhere? I mean,
No.
There's a killer cyborg from outer space.
Oh, so there's a Muppet. Okay.
Yeah.
Jason in the hologram version of Camp Crystal Lake.
Oh, that was so good. That was so good.
Yes. If you're listening and you haven't seen Jason X, pause here and go watch it.
And then come back.
I know, right?
Right? Who would have thought?
Oh boy. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
no tip today, but I think we got a bit.
Do we
we
wanna
do have
do-
a bit. So, I was thinking about this, and then I thought about the Jewish country club story, and I thought it'd be fun to go through and see if I could dig up some stories about people being oppressed who turned around and rescued their oppressors in some way. Right. So here we go. Baron Friedrich von Steuben, who lived in 1730 to 1794,
Oh, that one.
was a Prussian man by birth, was openly gay, who fled to the Americas after being
Jeez.
outed in his native lands. His contributions to the U.S. are mostly unknown today, but we might not have ever existed if it weren't for him. What did he do? I'm going to give you a couple hints, and if you can figure out what he did, jump in. Hint 1. His contributions were revolutionary.
He fought the entire Revolutionary War.
Hint 2. He worked closely with George Washington.
How closely?
He gave him intimate massages.
Hint 3. He wrote the book Regulations for the Order and Discipline of the Troops of the U.S., United States.
Did he come up with like the guerrilla tactics of like skirmishing and running away?
He might have been a very strong contributor to that, yes.
Did he write the military manual?
That is close enough. Yes, he was one of the founding fathers of the American Continental Army. He was the one who came up with all their discipline, their
I mean, he was
their
Prussian.
methods of training. He could legitimately be called the father of the American Armed Forces.
Yeah.
Just to be clear, that's basically what the Revolutionary War was, right? Like little skirmish and then run away, and then little skirmish and then run away because we didn't have enough people to like fight the entire like.
Well, and we also
couldn't fight it the way they did.
Well, and we also thought it was uncommonly stupid to dress in red, line up in lines,
Yes.
and then walk forward into gunfire.
My point was basically like the idea of like, I don't know, these colors don't run, courage, like stand your ground, whites of the eyes, and then like, well, no, but it was probably more guerrilla warfare than anything
Oh,
else.
absolutely. And we knew the terrain. And again, the British were
No,
used
we were
to,
just stronger than they were. No, we actually just,
America.
So a gay man is one of the founders of the American military forces.
Well, there you go.
There you go. All right.
just as long as he's not fighting in the forces.
Keshia Thomas, I apologize if I'm mispronouncing your name, an African-American woman, was 18 when the white supremacist organization known as the Ku Klux Klan held a rally in her hometown in Michigan in 1995. Her actions towards an alleged Klansman that day, it's never been confirmed whether or not he was a Klansman, but he was at a Klansman rally wearing a Confederate flag vest. So you do your own
He
math.
could have just been a Republican.
Her actions were seen all the way around the world. What were her actions that day? Hint 1. There was a riot during the KKK rally. Hint 2. A KKK member was found in the middle of the counter-protesters, alone.
Oh, did she like protect him or like save his life or something?
Save his ass, yeah.
That is correct.
Yeah.
I'm going to read an excerpt of an article written about her. Liberal, progressive, and multicultural, Ann Arbor was an unusual place for the KKK to choose for a march, and hundreds of people gathered to show that they were not welcome. Then a woman with a megaphone shouted, "There's a Klansman in the crowd." They turned around to see a white, middle-aged man wearing a Confederate flag t-shirt. He tried to walk away from them, but the protesters, including Thomas, followed just to chase him out. There were shouts of "Kill the Nazi," and the man began to run, but he was knocked to the ground. A group surrounded him, kicking him and hitting him with wooden sticks for their placards. So this teenager, then still at high school, threw herself on top of the man she did not know and shielded him from the blows with her own body. Mm-hmm. These photographs were caught and put in newspapers around the world. And She changed the world. She brought a huge conversation by saving a man who was basically against her existence.
Yeah.
You know? And if you haven't seen the photos of Keshia Thomas, I highly recommend going to check them out. Here's a story about a unlikely group coming to the rescue of people who had not treated them so well. Shortly after Pearl Harbor, many of the non-native population fled the Hawaiian Islands for America. This left a shortage of people to fulfill important civilian military jobs at the essential Pacific location, leaving the military in dire need of nurses. A specific oppressed group stepped up and started filling these vital roles. Who were they? Hint 1. They were generally non-native women who had moved to the islands for work. Hint 2.
Were they Filipino?
I was thinking that.
Nope. Hint 2.
Japanese one?
They were often beaten and evicted by police for living too far away from their places of work. Hint 3. They were professionals. In fact, some might say they were practitioners of the world's oldest profession.
Yeah, I get that. I just don't know the nationality.
It's not a nationality.
Oh, then it was sex workers.
Yes.
Sex workers,
Yes.
obviously, yeah.
Sex workers who were not treated well in Hawaii. They had their own little red light districts where they were mandated to live. Their rates were price controlled in horrific ways. They stepped up. They stepped up and they volunteered as nurses in Pearl Harbor shortly after the attack. They might not have had medical support there if it wasn't for these women. So people can change the world even by aiding their oppressor in dire times.
Well, and I also appreciate the fact that it's changing the world not by screaming louder, because that almost never works.
Oh, did we just learn that gay people, black women, and sex workers save the world?
Why, yes.
You know, the more you know.
We really need to get that sound cue.
Yeah, I keep forgetting. Somebody remind me on Tuesday.
Yes.
Hey, future Michael, get the sound cue.
Well, is it that time?
It's time. Where can you tell us about stuff? Where can you click stuff?
Where can you?
Where? I'll tell you where.
Where?
We're on Instagram and Twitter as @BigFatGayPod. We're on Facebook as the Big Fat Gay Podcast. Leave us 5 stars there. And on Podchaser and Apple Podcasts.
Yes,
all the
I
places.
want more reviews, people. We have some really good reviews in there, but it's been a while. So if you've been thinking about leaving a review, yeah, maybe go on there. Let us know.
Our Facebook posts have been very light. Like people are not responding. Very sad.
Facebook.
Facebook.
See our website. Check it out. There's stuff there.
There's lots of stuff there.
www.bigfatgaypod.com.
Yay.
Yes, we're done. Maybe you're listening while you're in the line. The line is wrapping around the block because they're trying to get into Club Dummy Thick. And you're finally in line to go through the big giant butt. And Jason's there. He's our doorman. He's lifting up his big machete, but he's waving you in.
Yay.
You got to go through the big giant butt now.
So many ups and downs. Watch out.
Yeah, watch out.
I thought you were going to say, but you're a skinny bitch, so.